Overall, we had a fantastic trading week. Last week, we had some losing trades, of course, but some great winners like you see on the screen. Now, let's get right into next week's Forex forecast. So last week, we saw the US dollar have a pretty green weekly candle, and we expected this. And why did we expect this? I've been saying the whole time I've been bullish on the dollar because not only do we have this weekly demand that is in control, we've seen multiple reactions off of it. More importantly, the black dotted lines you see, that is our monthly demand. So we have a macro demand in control. We are expecting to break this high in the next week or two, maybe even push all the way up to weekly supply at 103.06. So that is kind of my long-term target here on the DXY. And on the daily chart here, you can see two reactions off of our daily zone. You can go back and watch my previous forecast. I was talking about this daily area of demand. Now, obviously, a nice push up. Not really a significant trend here, in my opinion. It is just momentum. So I would like to see a significant pullback, giving us a nice trend line here. I just don't feel comfortable drawing this as a trend line. So we obviously on Friday, we saw the dollar with a massive rally. I talked about this supply zone last week. I thought we would see a small move off of the supply zone. We did, but ultimately, since the macro demand is in control in the DXY, we were expecting to see this breakout. I mean, I did not predict that it was going to be this aggressive, but it is looking pretty strong right now on the DXY. As far as this 4-hour trend line goes, it is pretty overextended as we are sitting well above the channel. So we could expect on Monday, maybe Tuesday, to see a significant pullback to pull back more in this channel. But ultimately, we are expecting to see the DXY continue to rise over the next couple weeks, but maybe not before we see somewhat of a pullback first, since we are a little overextended. Moving on to the forecast for the Euro US dollar, we have clear liquidity here on the weekly time frame. I think that is where we are most likely headed to target that weekly liquidity. On the daily time frame, we have a nice daily downward trend line that is very significant in my opinion. Yes, we are a little overextended as we are sitting below the downward channel. We have a technically fresh daily demand at 115. I think if we do push down in here, I think this is where we will hesitate, maybe get a rally up, but ultimately I'm expecting both of these demand zones to be removed on the Euro US dollar. As far as trading it goes now, obviously such an aggressive pullback down. Typically when we get aggressive moves like this, it is very difficult to get zones formed, but we actually got a pretty good area of supply formed at 116. This is a supply zone because it removed our very proven area of demand. This was a 4-hour demand zone that we were talking about on the Euro US dollar many weeks ago that we got a nice trade off of as well. So as far as trading the Euro US dollar goes, we have really only two options. If we throw a channel tool on this trend line, you can see we are pretty overextended. We are sitting well below the 50% mark. So as far as shorts on a day trading time frame, I'd rather be doing it above the 50% mark. Then 15-minute time frame shorts are going to be good. And if you are a swing trader, this is our 4-hour area of supply at 116. That is our supply zone for a pullback entry short on the 4-hour chart on the Euro US dollar. Moving on to the chart for gold, you can see clearly it looks like we are targeting that low there. That's where I think we could be headed if we do see more downside potential on gold. We are coming in contact again for like the third time at this daily demand at 43.40. This was actually a daily zone trade that I called out in previous Forex forecasts. You guys can go back to confirm that. So since we've tested the zone once, twice, third test, we are expecting to see this daily demand zone be pretty cleanly removed right now on gold. And as far as trading it goes now, it's actually looking very, very similar to the Euro US dollar. So you can see our downward trend line on the 4-hour chart pretty overextended. So I'd probably hold off on shorts right now in the day trading time frames. We had an area of demand here. This was a trade I was calling out, and that was a loss. So just trying to be fully transparent here on my channel. We had great winning trades last week. We also had a losing trade as well on gold. When we broke that zone, good news is we created the supply at 44.45. That is our supply zone for a short trade on gold. I've been telling my members we have to be aggressive with trade management on these markets like gold and oil due to the fact of the market conditions and the whole war that's going on. So we have to definitely be mindful of that. The better supply is actually sitting above all this liquidity at 46.04. So the preferred supply zone setup is above there at 46.04 on the gold chart. Moving on to the forecast for the S&P 500. Look at this weekly trend here. Absolutely beautiful. But like I was talking about last week, we are sitting above the 50% mark of that channel. So we were expecting to see maybe a pullback. I thought we could even push up towards the upper end of the channel, but clearly we are pulling back towards the mean there as far as that channel tool goes. So pretty significant pullback here on the S&P 500, but we did catch a beautiful picture perfect trading setup from that 4-hour area of demand that was called out in last week's weekly Forex forecast. Many of the members got involved in this trade as well from my Discord group. So happy to see the members understanding the concept pretty well. If you want to trade alongside myself and the members, join the Diamond membership, where you will have access to the 38-page supply and demand zone PDF, which will be your complete trading guide, the daily market breakdown videos, which are forecasts that I release every single night for the members to trade alongside myself, step-by-step video lessons A to Z covering everything you need to know on supply and demand trading, the Sunday strategy Zoom session where members submit homework, and it's an interactive 1-hour call where we go over all of your homework and every trading related question, private access to myself inside of our private Discord group where I answer all of your trading related questions, and finally the Sunday live stream forecast where we break down over 30 markets together. And it's not just me. Here are some of the members and some of their trades they've been taking lately, absolutely killing it. And we also have some amazing reviews from some of the past members sharing their experience within the group. So if you're ready to trade alongside myself and the community, join the Diamond membership today. Links in the description down below. So obviously a massive rally here to the downside, kind of unexpected in my opinion, but that 4-hour demand zone that we got a trade off of was removed. That created a 4-hour supply at 75.39. So that's really the only trading setup I am seeing right now on the S&P 500. I know it's far away. That's where I think we could be headed if we do rally up. I would be aggressive with trade management. I don't really recommend shorting the S&P 500, but if you do, we have to be aggressive with trade management. Only look for a 1-to-1, move your stop to break even as soon as possible. And if we remove that supply, any demand zone there is going to be our preferred long trading setup. So kind of tricky to trade right now. When we get these massive moves, it becomes very difficult to trade. So we're just going to have to be a little bit patient on the S&P, but we have to be happy with the winning trade that we got last week. Moving on to the forecast for the USDJPY, I've been talking about this weekly trend line. This trend line is drawn from here to here. This is a reaction off of our trend line, and it has reacted beautifully. We are pushing towards the all-time high, and I personally think we will be pushing up there with pretty much no issue. There will be a small issue, in my opinion, because we are at this 4-hour area of supply. Let me just tighten it up just a bit here. 4-hour supply zone, I've been talking about this trading setup, but I was saying we have to be aggressive with trade management off this zone. I don't think looking for more than a 1-to-1 is a smart idea. If you want, you could be looking for confirmation on a 15-minute time frame as well in this supply. I think that makes sense. And if we remove that supply, any demand zone there is going to be our preferred setup due to the fact that we have a very nice weekly trend to the upside. If you are bullish on the yen right now and you absolutely have to get in long right now, we have a somewhat decent 1-hour trend line to the upside. I don't love drawing trend lines with wicks, but sometimes you got to do it. We are sitting well above the 50% mark right now, so waiting for a pullback below the 50% mark, and as long as this trend line's holding anywhere in this area, 15-minute time frame longs are going to be good on the USDJPY. All right, moving on to the forecast for the GBPUSD. The higher time frame charts, I'm not even going to zoom in, very sideways on the weekly, and we are very sideways on the daily chart. So this is very tricky to trade, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not seeing a whole lot of zones. However, there are zones, but it's just not within my chain analysis. A couple of the members a couple weeks ago got that nice trade there, but it just didn't fall in line with my chain analysis, so I did not have it. We do have a downward trend right now. I don't really want to draw this trend line. It's a little bit too sideways for me, but obviously we are trending down. So if you want to trade the pound, I would be looking for shorts on a 15-minute time frame. We do have to be a little bit careful though, because we are sitting at the low. Again, it doesn't fall in line with my chain analysis, but some sort of drop-based rally here. So I think we will most likely hesitate here, but ultimately be breaking that low there. So for now, the pound is a little bit tricky to trade. I'm not really seeing any high quality zones. I mean, we do have this 1-hour zone that's about to come into play. The issue with it is that it's very old. If we do get some sort of basing here, creating some sort of liquidity where we can get a reaction, clearly there's some support here, then this trade would be decent. So if you absolutely have to trade the pound, That's really the only demand zone I'm seeing. I'm just going to tighten it up just a bit here on the 1 hour chart at 1.33. But again, it's such an old zone that you definitely want to be aggressive with trade management. Do not get greedy with an older zone like that on the GBPUSD. Moving on to the forecast for the USDCAD, we were talking about these two weekly supply zones. I think we could see small move off of this zone, and I mean we did see a pretty tiny move off of that weekly area of supply there, and now it has been removed. So in my opinion, it's definitely a bullish sign. I think we will easily be headed up to this weekly supply. I think this weekly supply will be removed as well, but not before we see maybe a small move off of it first. So longs are, you know, still pretty good here on the USDCAD, and that is why we got involved in this 4-hour area of demand here at 1.38. Beautiful trade. Unfortunately, didn't catch the entire move. Way bigger move than I expected. I thought we would see maybe small move off the zone, test a trend line, and break to the upside, but beautiful trade off of that zone, and that zone was responsible for removing this supply zone from back here. That was also a trading setup I was calling out. So just trying to be transparent again here, guys. Zone failed, loss. Zone worked, great. Quick one. I'm sure some people got a bigger trade off of that zone. Now we are into a very proven area of supply. Not a supply zone. I am not taking that trade. But as far as trading the USD CAD goes right now, we have a very nice 4-hour trend line that is being respected right now. So if we throw a channel tool on it, it shows we are pretty overextended right now. So if you want to get in long on a day trading time frame, wait for below the 50% mark. As long as this trend line's holding, that's going to be our guide for the 15-minute time frame longs. Obviously, we already got the trading set up off of this zone here. So if we remove this supply, we might have a demand zone here for maybe another entry on the USD CAD, and that is how I would be trading the USD CAD right now. Moving on to the forecast for the Aussie US dollar, our weekly trend line is drawn from here to here. We are currently testing this weekly trend line. We definitely could expect the trend line to break for two reasons. It is a pretty aggressive trend line. I mean, it's not a bad trend line, it's just a little bit aggressive. We have a weekly demand zone down below, and we also have a little bit of somewhat of a support liquidity trap here that we could easily be targeting, pushing down to that weekly area of demand. So again, since we're bullish on the dollar, we are expecting to see maybe a pullback, and I mean we have gotten just that. As far as trading it goes now, we have a nice 4-hour trend line to the downside. I'm sure if we throw a channel tool on it, it's going to show that we are pretty overextended. We are sitting well below the 50% mark, so waiting for a pullback above the 50% mark would be preferred for if you want to look for day trading shorts along with that trend. We also created a 4-hour supply by removing the upward trend line. So that is our supply zone for a potential short trade if you are bearish. We are also pushing close to this older 4-hour zone. It's very old zone, was created back in April. But if you notice, we have a clear area of support here. I want to see evidence that there is support there by getting another reaction in and around that purple box there, which is that support level. That'll tell me there are stop losses here, and that would be our pullback entry for a long trade at 0.69. But I would be somewhat aggressive with trade management if you do decide to trade off of that zone. And then as far as the 1-hour chart goes, I don't know if you guys remember, but I called out this 1-hour trade from last week. I was talking about this zone. It's not a great zone. This is our preferred zone, and what a trading setup called out in last week's weekly Forex forecast. And if that's not a reason to hit that subscribe button, I really don't know what is, guys. So if you guys appreciate these forecasts, hit that like button and subscribe. We actually just did another donation. I've been donating all of the ad revenue generated from these weekly Forex forecasts to my local hospice, but this past week I decided to change it to the Sick Kids Foundation. So trying to help out the kids. So continue to like this video, subscribe, continue to watch it. All the ad revenue is donated to those kids. So happy to say I'm doing that, and I appreciate everybody for your support. Moving on to the forecast for the USD Swiss. So nice reaction off of our weekly supply. This was drawn on my chart before the trade happened here. Aggressive pullback into the zone. I think this zone will break for two reasons. For one, it's already been tested, so that's one good reason. And when we zoom out here, look at how overextended we are. When we're really zoomed in like this, it looks like, you know, maybe a little overextended, but when we really zoom out, I mean, we are so quote unquote due for, you know, a nice rally here on the USD Swiss. And just because, you know, it looks like we're due doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I think all of these signs are lining up to suggest that that will be happening here. We caught a beautiful 1-hour trade from this zone down here. Picture perfect setup, very explosive move away. That was a losing trade here, but a winning trade here. So again, Trying to be transparent here on my channel, trying to show you guys that it's okay to lose. We are going to have losing trades, but the winners usually should be making up for that trade. So just wanted to point that out here. As far as trading the chart goes now, we are coming into contact with this 4-hour supply. It's a pretty good zone. The only issue with it is that it's pretty old. It was created back in April, but I like the zone. Nice basing here. Move away is very aggressive. I definitely like it. Another thing I like about it is that we are very overextended, which means we definitely could see it sell off from this supply. So that is our supply zone for a short trade on the USD Swiss for aggressive trade management trade. I don't think we should be looking for a massive trade there since we are bullish on the dollar. If you are bullish on this pair, as long as this trend line's holding, 15-minute time frame longs are going to be good. And then for swing trading, we have a couple of options. If we remove that supply, any demand there would be a nice trading setup. Or if we get a pullback down to this demand, it's a pretty mediocre zone, but we definitely could see a move off of it at 0.78 on the USD Swiss. Moving on to the forecast for crude oil. Very sideways on the weekly, very sideways on the daily. So what that means, combined with the fact the market conditions are kind of crazy on oil, we definitely want to be aggressive with our trade management, whether you're getting in long or whether you're getting in short. The only trading setup I'm seeing right now is this supply zone on the 4-hour chart at 96.64. So I'll keep it very simple for you guys. That's our supply zone. It removed a trend line. The basing is perfect. The move away is perfect as well. So it's a 10 out of 10 zone in my opinion. Doesn't mean it's going to work 100%. I want to make sure that's very clear. The best zones can fail and the worst zones can work. So just be mindful of that. So that is our supply zone for a quick short trade. Again, due to the market conditions, we want to be aggressive with trade management off of that supply. If you're bullish, if we remove that if you remove that supply, any demand zone there that removes it is going to be a good potential long setup on crude oil. Moving on to the Bitcoin chart, something extremely significant has taken place here as we have broken this low in the weekly, creating a weekly downward trend and a downward trend line. Those are two different things. Just because we have a trend doesn't mean we have a trend line, but this is a very sustainable looking trend line. The only issue I have with being bearish on Bitcoin is that this dotted line here is a monthly area of demand. So we could still see a rally, but I mean, it's looking pretty weak right now in Bitcoin. We had a massive sell-off here on Friday. And when we got that sell-off, we created a new daily supply. You can go back and confirm that this daily supply zone trade I had on my charts before it took place. So always go back. Everything I'm saying you can confirm by watching my previous forecast, and that's on you guys to confirm the accuracy. We created a new daily supply at 71,314. This supply was responsible for breaking the daily upward trend line. So if we get a pullback to the supply zone, that's going to be a great higher time frame supply to look for like H1 confirmation trades as far as the H1 confirmation goes. As far as trading it goes now, I don't see any setups right now, guys. Yes, we had a nice sell-off on Bitcoin, but unfortunately, we just haven't created any good areas of supply or at demand for me to call out, nice trading setups. So just trying to be honest with you guys, I'm not going to point out low quality setups for you guys just for the sake of it, right? I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I just don't see anything right now. So Bitcoin, we got to be a little bit patient, wait for the daily supply, wait for a recovery, or wait for some new trend lines and zones to be formed on the 4-hour or the 1-hour chart. If you guys want access to my full-length forecast, join the Diamond membership where you will have access to that as well as my daily market forecast, the full course supply and demand PDF, and much, much more. Make sure you guys subscribe so you can catch next week's forecast as well. And I always appreciate a like. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.